Today, we invite the Managing Director of Hawkstone Mining Limited, Mr. Paul Lloyd, to join us to discuss about the recent updates of Hawkstone. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Steph. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hawkstone Mining, the ASX trading code is HWK. I think a lot of investors already knew it, especially when it had a really good performance last year. Well, a couple months earlier, I would describe it as a gold, copper, lithium explorer holding the assets in US, but seems like it's a big thing happening to it. Paul, could you please give us a more detailed introduction about current Hawkstone and its recent progression?
Yes. Steph, it's a very exciting time for Hawkstone shareholders because what we've decided to do to maximise return to shareholders, we've decided to separate the lithium assets and let those assets stay with Hawkstone and change the name of Hawkstone to Arizona Lithium Limited, so that it'll be a pure lithium play based on around our Big Sandy project in Arizona, which is advancing. It's a very large project and it's in the perfect location for lithium, given that the US demand for lithium with the electric vehicle revolution is increasing massively. So as part of that process, we're taking our 3 gold assets and we're putting them into a separate listed company that'll have a very tight capital structure, and we're calling that Diablo Resources Limited. And we're listing that company, and the capital raise is actually live. Now, those 3 projects that we have been very carefully selected and worked on by the Hawkstone management team to the point where those projects are ready to drill. And what we need to do is raise $6.5 million to list the company approximately around the 12th of October. So $3.5 million of that capital raise will come from an entitlement to Hawkstone shareholders, and $3 million will come from our lead manager, PAC Partners, and that'll be more institutional money. So I wanted to talk to you today in regards to the entitlement and the fact that I want to see the shareholders of Hawkstone take up their entitlement, mainly because a lot of hard work has gone into developing up these 3 gold copper projects in the US by the Hawkstone management team, and I want to see the shareholders benefit from that as we increase our share price from successful exploration, because these projects are ready to drill.
Yeah, I think the 3 gold and copper project would just require about like a 1.5 year time. It's not a very long time. So do you think that's the best time to spring it out and this can maximize the shareholders' value?
Yes. That's a good point, Steph. So basically what we've done in that 18 months, we've acquired the projects. In one case, we've done a little bit of drilling, but not very much. And the other ones, we've done a lot of targeting to develop up a drill program for I suppose the most exciting project we have is the Devil's Canyon project, and that's in Nevada. It's in the Carlin trend, and the Carlin trend has produced in excess of 200 million ounces of gold in the US, and that's the predominant gold producing area in the US. So for all my career, I've always wanted to have a project in the Carlin trend. Well, we have a Ripper project in the Carlin trend as part of this package, and that will be drilled fairly soon after IPO. That project has soil sampling results of 191.5 grams per tonne gold and up to 10% copper. So there's a lot of mineralization at surface. We need to get the drill rig up there and prove that it has the capacity to deliver a large resource, very similar to the projects in the general area. In fact, there's a 5.9 million ounce deposit only 20 kilometres away from the Devil's Canyon project. So these projects, we've worked hard at doing a lot of work to determine the drill locations, and there's significant funds have been applied to doing gravity surveys, aeromagnetic surveys, etc. So now is the time to drill them, and I think that's when we'll add value. So I want to see that the Hawkstone shareholders obtain that value by buying into Diablo.
And also, what would be the relationship after this being out between Hawkstone and Diablo?
Yes. So what we're doing, there's a few companies doing these sort of spin-offs, but we have decided to give these shares that Diablo will pay for the assets to Hawkstone. We're going to distribute those to the shareholders, which is called an in-specie distribution. So we will distribute those shares to all shareholders who are on the register on the 23rd of September. And they will basically be free shares. But the other part of this transaction is the ability to pick up additional shares in Diablo. And the record date for the entitlement has passed. So the current shareholders, if they can apply for shares before the 7th of September, they will get part of that 3.5 million entitlement. Now, nearly all our major shareholders have picked up that entitlement. The directors have picked up that entitlement to put in additional shares. And I just want to make sure that all of our smaller shareholders, our loyal smaller shareholders, have had that opportunity to consider that investment opportunity.
Sure. Could you please just emphasize about these key dates you think like the interested investors should pay more attention to it?
Yes, well, the key dates are the closing of the entitlement, which is the 7th of September. So the entitlement is currently open. So in other words, the other investors who are not Hawkstone shareholders cannot take up shares at the present time. They'll be able to do that after the 7th of September. We don't have any problem raising additional funds that are not taken up by Hawkstone shareholders. And then we would have raised a total of $6.5 million. And we will then list on the stock exchange on or around the 12th of October. So that'll be a fantastic result for shareholders. In between then, on the 23rd of September, if you're on the register of Hawkstone on the 23rd of September, you will receive shares in Diablo on a ratio of 2.33 Diablo shares for every 100 Hawkstone shares held. And they will be free.
Great. And also these investors, they have read the letters to shareholders mentioned about the priority offer access code, and they wonder where they can get their unique code for themselves. Or is there any specific mail or email or anywhere they can find it?
I will update shareholders today in regards to an additional letter just to make sure that that is clear. Automic have a very good system for paying additional entitlements through BPay, etc. But if any shareholders have any problem, please contact myself or our team, and we'll assist. Automic are very good at taking telephone calls and emails. So please get those questions through.
No problem. And also a lot of investors are curious about the management team you mentioned. So the Diablo and the Hawkstone will have somehow like a shared team, or they will build another like a new team for which entity? Yes.
So basically for Hawkstone, we are looking to bring on some additional directors because now we are listed on the OTCQB exchange in New York. And we'll look to get some American-based directors into Hawkstone, which will then be called Arizona Lithium Limited. What we're doing with Diablo, the directors of Diablo are the same current Hawkstone shareholders, but most importantly, the CEO, Lyle Thorne, is a gold geologist and he's an experienced company director, and he will be driving the Diablo ship for us, and he'll be working full-time for that company. So very exciting.
Yeah, the new team.
Shareholders.
It's going to change its name and code to Arizona Lithium Limited, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So focusing on the Big Sandy Lithium project.
Yes.
So after the spin out, will the Big Sandy Lithium project will be the only focus of Arizona Lithium Limited, or any further acquisition plan? And in years later, there's any plan to transit into like producers of lithium or any other big plan for Hawkstone?
Yes. So we do run our companies based on shareholder returns. So we look at any sort of transaction that can maximize shareholder returns, because we are big shareholders in these companies. And we'll look at that very positively if we think we can create shareholder value. In the shorter term, the Big Sandy Lithium project is a very large lithium project. We have a significant resource of 320,000 tonnes of LCE from only drilling 4% of our land holding. But the next significant events for for Arizona Lithium will be the construction of a pilot plant or a demonstration plant, we like to call it. And that will be built around the Phoenix area, and we'll take material from the Big Sandy project and we'll demonstrate how we will process that into lithium. And then we'll give that to potential off-takers, and hopefully they will look to come in on the investing into the company or agree to take the product from our plant when it goes into construction. So we are very focused on the development of the Big Sandy project, and that is going ahead very well, and we'll have some announcements once we become Arizona Lithium to that effect. We also have a project in Arizona Lithium called Lordsburg, and that's a brine project. We're doing some exploration work on that right now, and we'll be updating the market in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's an exciting opportunity, but our focus is very much the Big Sandy Lithium project because it's just such a large project.
Is there any very clear timetable or scheduled work plan for the rest of months and following months in 2021, like the financial year?
So basically, we are waiting on drilling approval to do additional drilling at the Big Sandy project, and the Bureau of Land Management have not advised us of this at this stage when we can start drilling. We know we will be able to start drilling, but we don't have an exact date on when we can start drilling. And so we're waiting on that. But in the meantime, we're doing a lot of testing with a company called Hazen in Colorado, and they are developing up a flow sheet so that we know how to take the material from the lithium clay material or lithium sedimentary material and process it. At the moment, we're using a sulfuric acid leach process, and they are optimizing that process. Once they come up with the flow sheet, we can then start construction of our demonstration plant. And I'm hoping that that will start in Q4 of this year. So not too far away.
Yeah,
and
it's
that
very
will,
close.
Investors will be able to look at that plant in a subsequent year, and we can show politicians, etc., that plant, and that will help with building our profile of Arizona Lithium inside Arizona and also in the US with the investment market.
And also a question from investors, like they noticed announcements released on 7th of July. There was a mention there's a UK-based company called Heading Holdings Limited. They have released information in regard to the overstaking of the Big Sandy project in that area. Do you think it's a big concern for Hawkstone?
Our advice from our lawyer is that we have a very strong legal position. So we have the lawyers talking, and we're working through that process. Given it's a legal issue, I don't want to say too much, but we believe we have a very strong legal position in regards to that overstaking.
So for Hawkstone, what about its current cash position? Will there be any capital raising plans in the near future? I guess like the exploration will continue from the Q4 is expected in Q4 in 2021. So during that time, any plan for capital raising or anything?
Right at the present time, we don't have any demand for a capital raising. If we had a strategic investor that wanted to get involved in Arizona Lithium, then we would definitely look at that. Our current treasury is around $5 million, and that has been because in the money options have been exercised. And so we are well funded at the moment to build our demonstration plant and commence drilling at the Big Sandy project. Of course, when the gold assets go into Diablo, then the commitment associated with that goes to the new company Diablo. And so the expenses and commitments inside Arizona Lithium are reduced.
Great. And then we talk a bit more about Diablo for its gold and copper assets. What's the plan for the rest of the year? And all three projects will go together, or there's like a very focused project to go?
So all three projects are being advanced at the same time. And I have a very motivated geological team that really like these projects. The Western Desert project that sits in Utah, and that's likely to be the first one that will be drilled. and I suspect we'll be drilling very quickly after IPO. And that'll be very exciting. That sits very close to a large resource called Long Canyon, and it's in production, and it has similar geological structures to the Long Canyon project. So we are looking for large gold and copper resources in areas where there are existing large copper and gold projects. That would appear to be in the same, well, that's exactly the same for all three projects. And then if you move over into Nevada, the Devil's Canyon project that I talked about previously, which has the very large soil sample results at surface, that one will be drilled hopefully just after the Utah project. So we will hit the ground running, and as we list on the stock exchange, we'll be having drilling commenced and results coming through late to early next year.
Great. It looks like very exciting. It's upcoming very soon.
Yes, we're very excited.
Yeah, and also questions, I think it's annoying a lot of people. So the questions about the issues that are being faced by most of people globally, which is COVID-19. They're wondering how things going in the US. Will this COVID-19 will impact both entities which have the projects in US?
I spent a lot of time in the US prior to COVID-19, and we've faced some difficulties like every other company as we've been restricted from traveling. But I'm lucky to have a very good team over there in the US. They're based in Utah, and they've stepped up to the plate in these tough times, and they're processing a lot of the work that we would normally do ourselves. And I'm very happy with our management team in the US, and they will manage the drilling programs for the Diablo company. And also when we're drilling the Big Sandy project, they will manage that. Now, you just need to adapt in these times, and we do a lot of what you and I are doing now with Zoom. We do a lot of Zoom work. We're constantly talking to them, a lot more than we would normally do if we were traveling constantly to the US. So we've adapted, and our business model is working well.
No problem. Sounds all good. Thank you very much, Paul, for the time. Is anything that's all the questions from my other side? Is anything you would like to address to your shareholders and to those interested investors?
I'd just like to say to the shareholders, have a good look at the entitlement offer that expires on the 7th of September. Hawkstone shareholders have paid for the work to take these projects to a drill-ready stage. And I think that is the point where we will add significant value to these projects. If we get some really positive exploration results, the price of Diablo should increase significantly. We only have 74.5 million shares on issue after raising $6.5 million. I understand if you don't want to pick that up, but please consider it, because we do have other shareholders that will take up the holding. Our major shareholders have taken up the holding. The directors have taken up the holding. So please don't miss out, but the funds will easily be raised through external shareholders.
The closing date of the subscription, is that possible to be closed earlier for both priority shares and also the general offers?
Because we have a priority allocation to Hawkstone shareholders of only $3.5 million, once we hit the $3.5 million, we will close the offer. So it may close early. So we talked previously about the application form, and the process is very seamless. So please, if you want to invest, get your money in early. We've had a really good take up so far in the first few days of the entitlement.
Great. Need to hurry up if they're interested in that.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your time and patience. I guess your answer can solve a lot of questions in many shareholders' mind, and also help these interested investors to know a lot better about Hawkstone and Diablo, especially in this very important decision-making time. Hope everything can run very well, and we look forward to seeing the new start of both Diablo and Hawkstone, or soon we should call it Arizona Lithium Limited.
Correct. Nice talking to you, Steph.
Nice to talking to you too. Thank you.
Bye.